Today, we are diving into the incredible transformation of one of folklore's most mysterious figures, the Jinn. We're going to go from these wild, untamable spirits to complex moral teachers. It's a fascinating journey, so let's get right into it.
So it kind of makes you wonder, right? How did these powerful, unpredictable beings go from being symbols of pure chaos to figures that actually teach us lessons about right and wrong? That's the puzzle we're going to solve together.
To really get this, we have to start at the very beginning. We're talking about a time way before the Jinn were folded into a major religious framework. This was the era of the Jinn as these raw, pure spirits of the great unknown. In those early Arabian traditions, Jinn weren't really good or evil. They were just powerful and dangerous. Think of them as the personification of everything you couldn't control. The harshness of the desert, a sudden sickness, that flicker of movement in the darkness just beyond the campfire. They were shapeshifters, forces of nature that you had to respect and definitely fear. This image here just captures that worldview perfectly. On one side, you've got the world of humanity, cities, order, things that make sense. And then on the other, there's the unseen world. That's the Jinn's territory, a realm of chaos and mystery existing right alongside our own.
And then everything changed. A huge, monumental shift happened. The rise of Islam didn't get rid of the Jinn. Instead, it gave them a totally new place in the cosmos. It was a recontextualization that would change their very nature forever.
See, in a worldview that is strictly monotheistic, there just isn't room for a bunch of competing supernatural powers or minor gods. To keep the idea of one single, all-powerful creator, the Jinn had to be, they had to be redefined. They got demoted, no longer potential deities, but something else entirely. And this new spiritual hierarchy is absolutely key. At the very top, you have God, the sole creator. Below God, you have the angels, who are pure divine messengers. And then, on a pretty similar level, you find both Jinn and humans. Both were given free will, and this is critical. Both were made accountable for their choices. And this right here, this is the absolute game changer. By giving them free will and making them subject to divine judgment, we're talking heaven and hell. Just like people, their whole identity fundamentally shifted. They were no longer just random forces of nature. Their actions now had eternal consequences. So this new moral dimension gave the Jinn a powerful new role. They basically became a way to explain and understand human suffering in a world that was now governed by divine law. For centuries, a lot of ailments that were really hard to explain, everything from a physical sickness to deep psychological distress, were often chalked up to the influence of malevolent Jinn. It gave people an answer, a tangible cause for what felt like intangible suffering. But here's the thing. Being afflicted wasn't seen as just random bad luck. The belief was that Jinn could only really get to you if you were spiritually vulnerable. Maybe you had a tired soul, or maybe it was a punishment for something you did wrong. All of a sudden, being a good person wasn't just about morality, it was a form of spiritual protection. Now, this moral framing is captured perfectly in the foundational myth of the Jinn themselves, a story that serves as this really powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of corruption and vice. So, the traditional story goes that the Jinn were once this great people living right here on Earth. But over time, they just fell into moral decay. They became corrupt, violent, greedy, turning their backs on the path of righteousness. And the consequence for this corruption was severe. God sent angels to cleanse the earth of their wickedness, driving the few survivors into exile. This act wasn't just a punishment. It was designed to be a clear, unforgettable warning to everyone else. So, the Jinn's own history becomes the ultimate moral lesson. Their story is a warning against the very things they fell victim to: unchecked ambition, greed, and ignoring divine guidance. They are a living, breathing symbol of what happens when a society completely loses its moral compass. But they weren't just a cautionary tale. The Jinn also took on a much more active role in folklore as agents of a very direct and often very harsh form of justice. This cause and effect relationship became absolutely central to their folklore. It was believed that the Jinn lived underground, and they were watching. So if you mistreated other people, they might spread illness. If you were truly wicked, they might possess you or even abduct your children. The punishment was sort of designed to fit the crime. You can see how this belief created a really powerful system of social enforcement. The fear of provoking the jinn wasn't just some old superstition, it was a strong deterrent against immoral behavior. It encouraged people to be just and fair and compassionate, lest they attract the wrong kind of unseen attention. So, when we pull all of these threads together, we can really see the full arc of this incredible evolution, from a wild spirit of the desert to a really complex moral symbol. Okay, so let's recap their journey real quick. They started as these chaotic forces of nature. Then, they were given accountability under divine law. From there, they evolved into allegories for suffering, cautionary tales, and finally, these active enforcers of justice. What a trip! Ultimately, the Jinn's evolution tells us something really profound about storytelling itself. It shows how folklore is this living thing that adapts. It absorbs new values and new ideas to help reinforce what a society believes is right. The Jinn became this incredible vessel for teaching ethics and encouraging good behavior. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The Jinn were a powerful tool for teaching morality through story. So, what are the Jinn of our modern world? What figures in our movies, our books, our myths serve that same purpose today, personifying the consequences of our actions and guiding our moral compass? Thank you for joining this explainer.